Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another Vampire the Masquerade Rivals unboxing. This is part 3. We are going to go over the San Francisco City deck as well as the Crypt cards, which are all the bonus cards you can use to upgrade your deck. If for some reason the first video you checked out, you check out part 1 where I do a overview of the game, so the mechanics, what's the point of it, all that. It's not a how to play, just kind of like what is it and what's going on in the game. It's not going to cover every single detail. Part 2 is actually go over the 4 different vampire clans. We had the Venture vampires. We had, I didn't have these set up. We have the Brujah. We have the Toreadors. And finally, we have the Makalvian. So our 4 main groups of vampires. And then with this core set, of course, all the decks kind of share and mix match some of the cards. So one card might have 2 of one, and then the other one might have 1 of the third card. But when you buy any of the other expansions, typically each deck only has their own set of cards. Any remainder cards that you need to get to the 3 are found in the Crypt. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and jump into the city deck. So, currently right now, in the base game, there's the San Francisco city deck, which will have this blue back with the bridge on there. And this is basically what plays in the street. And then every turn you flip over one of these cards, and it's going to give effects that are going to kind of mess with everybody in the game at the same time. And then as the game goes on, they will release other city decks. Now, they'll each have their own back, so they are not directly interchangeable. Now, there's nothing to say that you couldn't put different backs on your cards and have, different backs. You could have solid colored back sleeves on your cards, or even use the ones from the official one, and you couldn't mix and match all these. I don't think typically there's going to be anything that's going to keep one thing not working with another one. But the idea is supposed to be you play with one city deck, and then tournament-wise is every time a new city deck comes out, you always play with the newest city deck that's available. So they currently only have this one and... they have 3 of them right now. They have this one. They have Prague for Europe, and then in the new core set, Hunters and Hunters, they have Rio de Janeiro. So you can get 3 separate different city decks, which just give you different options, different things to do. We're going to go ahead and look at these. So most of these are going to be, almost all going to be events, and most of them will be ongoing. So at the beginning of the round, you flip one of these cards, this will affect it for all players playing. So you have Castro Street Party, ongoing. Characters in the streets have 1 secrecy. So this basically means to be able to attack a character in the street, you have to play extra intel. So this is going to depend whether you can afford to go an extra turn without attacking someone, or if you're willing to pay the extra intel. We have the Hunger. Ongoing vagrants in the streets award +1 agenda when defeated. At the end of your turn, lose 1 prestige for each character in your coterie who is not at maximum health. Interesting. So... this could really hurt a lot of your characters if you're not sitting at maximum health. But you also want to defeat the vagrants, which are one of the street citizens, but they're the only ones that have multiple copies, which we'll get to them. They're towards the end. We have just an event. So an event comes in, does its thing, leaves. We have the meeting at Alcatraz. Each player must move their leader to the streets, unless in Kapor. They become a separate party. The active player's leader does not return to their haven this turn, but other characters may join their party. Interesting. So you're bringing everyone together at Alcatraz. The San Francisco Fog. Ongoing ranged attacks cannot be played. So thick that you could take a bite out of it. That's definitely fun too. Just limits what cards you can play. The Gallery Opening. Event. Each player may discard up to 2 cards. For each discard, they gain 1 prestige. I've got to get one of these pieces. It's starting to gain a following. Yes, some of these aren't... Some are kind of hurtful. Some are not. This one you might be like, oh, it's not a bad thing, except for the fact that you have someone that's really low on prestige. They might have a giant hand of cards. They could discard a lot and increase their prestige exponentially, like, or a lot, you know, versus someone who only has a few cards. It's not going to help them as much. So not necessarily bad because it's not hurting you, but it could help one player more than another. Protest in the streets. Ongoing. When a character attacks a mortal in the street, that attacker loses 1 health. Ooh, so again, you might, with this one, not necessarily a hindrance, like hurting you, but it might prevent you from wanting to attack. The cable car accident. Characters in the street do not return to their haven at the start of their turn. Interesting. So you don't get bring all your characters back and then re-put out. So why is that a thing, or why does that make any amount of difference in the game? Because let's say one guy got really injured during a combat, during one of the combats on the street. At the end of their turn, they go back, or at the start of their turn, or they go back to the haven. They can kind of like rest up. You decide to send them back to the streets if you want. This should force them to stay out where players can attack them again a lot easier. So that's why that makes a difference. City on the Brink. Whenever you defeat a foe's character, gain 1 agenda. You want a piece of me. So this is going to again make you want to force attack a lot. We have the Chinese New Year. Shuffle all events in the burned pile into the city deck. So typically whenever a card gets burned from your deck or a rival's deck or another player, they're removed from the game. They no longer be accessible. The exception are city cards. They just go into a special burn pile, and then you get cards like this. They'll let you pull them back out. So they have the regular city decks, a regular city discard pile, which once these events, and then they can get reshuffled. This will let you get some of your burned cards back. Wandering into the Bart tunnels. Ongoing. Every character in their haven is in a separate party. So this will eliminate blockers and stuff like that. Then we're going to come with our mortals. So we have Athlete, who's a citizen. He's a mortal retainer. So he has 3 health, and he gets you 1 victory, or 1 agenda. So it says, when defeated, gain 1 agenda and choose 1 to either burn him, remove him from the game, and gain 3 health back, or you can attach him as your retainer and gain 1 physical attack. These will make these guys really cool. So we have a chef who says when defeated, gain 1 agenda and either burn the men for 3 or attach to draw 1 card and gain a discipline. And I don't remember what discipline that is. I want to say, no, I'm not going to try and guess. I don't remember. Presence. So that's neat. So this is where you can like give your character additional disciplines. So we have the cop, 1, 3, same thing. Attaches gain 1 dominance, and plus 1 blood potency. So this ups your overall health. And it doesn't heal you, but it gives you 1 more. So if your character normally was 5, now there's 6. This could help like a 3-cost character, 3 blood potency character, now go up to 4. Now they can play higher level cards. The Addict, 3 and 1. So that's just going to be your Manga Mount 2 as well, typically, and your how much points you gain, just kind of keep in there. Also interesting is there's the restaurant in the back that was in the artwork. Look, there's the restaurant again. There's the chef part of the restaurant, and there's also the restaurant. The Sherman's Wharf. It's kind of neat that they're all like not quite connected art, but in the same area. I'm like, San Francisco's a big area. You have a lot of different artworks, and it'd be fine, but it's kind of neat that they kind of tie that together. So here you attack and draw 1 card and gain the aspect dominance discipline. Yeah. We have a skateboarder, gain the celery and 1 blood potency. If you take a student, you get to gain 1 mental, which should help for attacks or defense. The tour guide, which gains you 1 social. So I noticed they're not covering everything. They didn't give you disciplines that cover every single discipline. They didn't give you attacks that gives every single character like physical attack. We have 1 for each: physical, mental that we didn't give anyone gives range or gives multiple things. Not every discipline was covered. Just kind of interesting how that all works. Then we're going to look at the next card, which was referenced a lot in the second video, the Prince of the City. This is a special title. So there's a full set of rules for how this works. Basically, this comes up if you go to get it and your character actually has equipped with it. This character has secrecy is always 0. So someone can always attack you. It's basically like, hey, I'm big and mighty, everyone knows you are. But you have 2 extra influence. At the start of your turn, you gain 1 prestige and 1 agenda. So this is why this is valuable for everyone to get. But the 2 just quick kind of like gist of how this works is when someone goes to claim this title that does not belong to anybody, everyone else gets a chance to attack them immediately. So they put it on them, and then everyone gets to attack. If they defeat the guy, then he doesn't get it. If he stays alive, hooray, he stays alive. So everyone has a chance to attack him if they'd like to stop him. And then definitely the big thing is because otherwise they're going to gain prestige and agenda. Every agenda is going to get them 1 step closer to winning the game, and having more prestige will keep them from losing the game. So that's why it's very important. The only other ways to get this title back after someone has it is to defeat them. When you defeat them, that's the only title that gets lost when they go to Kapor. Every other Kapor title, any other title stays with a character. Prince of the City only stays as long as they're alive. As soon as they die, they lose it. It gets basically dropped, and then someone else can go to claim it. Yeah, and there's a couple other cards that reference this because it's very important. Now, every new city will have another one of these cards. We'll have Prince of the City for San Francisco, Prince of the City for Prague, Prince of the City for Rio. Should be the same basic ideas. I don't know if the stats are the same for all of them. I have to actually pop open the other boxes and look. But that's definitely cool. Alright, then we have 4 copies of the Special Affairs Division, SAD. They're the Second Inquisition. So, because the whole plot of Vampire Masquerade is that vampires were being hunted to extinction, so they perform the masquerade, which is the idea of vampires that can live with other people, but they can't reveal they're vampires. That's how they're getting through society, and that's why there's sometimes conflict. The Second Inquisition is a group of mortals that found out, hey, there's still vampires around. So they're more like army people that get to try and take them out. They have 4 health, and they offer 1 agenda when defeated. And then you discard this. They don't get burned. You can't retain them. They also have a special antagonist step. So when they're out, they will attack during their turn. So at the end of your turn, deal 1 aggravated to a character in your coterie not protected by secrecy. Plus 1 intel stacks with other SAD. So what this means is they have 1, so one of these guys is out, they have 1 intel. So you're normally in your havens, they have 1 secrecy, so they can attack into your havens. But then the more of these guys you have out, they can have 2, 3, 4 secrecy intel, so they can easily bypass anything to attack into havens more often. Yeah, they have their own step in the book where they get to attack and they get to try and take the stuff. Plus, they're aggravated, so they're definitely trying to destroy vampires. They're not just trying to knock them out or slow them down. So yeah, it's definitely, and then each city has a different version of these, which is also cool because there's different citizens, different versions. So each city has lots of the same beats, but they have different cards. It's not just the same special affairs in every set. 3, 4, 5. And we have the last city cards. We have 5 copies of the Vagrant, which are mortal retainers. But this is just like every set's also have a bunch of Vagrants. So they have 2 health, they're a little bit easier to beat, but they don't award any agenda. So when defeated, burn to mend 2, or attach exhaust a Vagrant to prevent 1 damage to this character. So basically you can use them as a shield. And they're all the same, they're just kind of like the extra people in there. You don't have special effects. The other card we're going to go for, let's take the Crypt here, is we do have player aid cards. You get 4 of them, 1 for each player, of course. Just specialized attack, sequence, Attack declaration, gain intel if needed to overcome secrecy. Attack type, optional attack card. Blocker declaration and reaction cards, both optional. Reveal cards, activate abilities, damage reductions, and resolutions. If you defeat or burn a rival vampire, gain 1 agenda. Defeated, that foe places 1 blah blah. Why I just 100% forget the name of what those are called. Prestige on that vampire and flips it to its blood side. So it's just a quick reminder. And then the other side, your turn. Begin the city, play the city deck, ready your cards, return cards back to your haven. Action card, perform 2. Action phase, perform 2. Draw a card, recruit a vampire, claim the prince of the city if available, play an action card, making attack. End of the phase, Kapor and Mending, sad guys attack, and then draw 2 cards. It's kind of nice to draw at the end of your turn, because then that way you have other players' turns. You can kind of pay attention to what you're doing, but you get a little bit of an opportunity to see what you're doing. I noticed a lot of games do this nowadays, versus having you draw at the beginning of your turn. Then you have to stop, look at your brand new cards, figure out what you want to do, versus you already kind of have an option at the end of your turn. End of your turn, you get other players' turns to kind of look at your cards and see what you want to do, while other players can keep doing stuff. Alright, so that's our city deck. Definitely cool again. I hope that in the future they do upgrades or swap outable cards for that. Like, again, I like the idea of being able to mix stuff. I get maybe you don't want to have the city deck too terribly big. Like, if I don't know how many cards it is, probably like 30 cards or something. If I flip to the beginning of the book, you'll probably take 27 cards. Yeah, I can see not combining 2 and then you have a 60 card deck. It's going to be a lot harder to find mortals, possibly, if you have twice as many cards. King of the City will be a lot harder to find, or Prince of the City. But I could see it being neat if they had the same backs. You could mix it, like, hey, create this, have X number of events, X number of mortals, X SAG members, and you had to create your own one. That would have been a neat idea. Just because of some of the mortals, it'd be kind of neat to have the one set than the other. I get you don't want to overload it because you have to make it even. They're looking at this game in the fact of playing at tournaments. So, and that's the whole idea. So you want the same deck for everybody. Because if you can also customize it, that's really cool for at-home games. But you wouldn't want player A to customize their deck, player B to customize their deck, and how you decide a tournament what deck to use. Or if someone, makes their deck based, with more cards that work better towards their vampires, that could be unfair too. So I get the idea of it. Alright, so then we have the Crypt pack. So every set will have one of these Crypt packs. Won't necessarily be this many cards, but what it does is add extra havens, agendas, and vampires, and library cards to swap out for your other cards. So it just lets you customize your game. So we're going to have a new haven, essentially an alt haven, alt agenda for each type of clan. But again, they're not specific, so they don't necessarily have to be used with them. So we have Artist's Lofts, who has a leader ability. At the end of your turn, if your leader is exhausted, you may draw 1 card, then discard 1 card. I believe these are supposed to be for the Toreadors. Because it's the artist card. They're the artists. And we have the old post office. During each player's turn, you may place a card from your hand with 1 to 3 blood potency as an influence modifier. When revealed, gain 1 influence equal to that blood point value. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So you can basically spend a card, gain extra influence, just once per turn. I think this probably works best with, I want to say the Makalvians, but I'm not for sure. Because again, it can be used with whoever, because they have a lot of steaming cards are probably more Toreador, but they don't make sense for the post office. I'm just looking at the theming of it. We have the dockyards. Each time your leader would take 1 damage, you may discard 1 card to prevent 1 damage. This could maybe even be the Makalvians too, kind of the crazy guys. And then we have the Dragon's Roost, which kind of screams more Toreador. If ready, you may move your leader to the streets to block a foe's attack, excluding range, and gain 1 influence. So some different options there. If you like some different havens to do some different abilities. Then we have the agendas. We have Drain Them Slowly. When a character you attack takes plus 1 non-aggressive damage but is not defeated, gain 1 agenda. So this is all about taking guys out but not necessarily defeating them. So I think this one might work very well with the Brujah, because I have a bunch of cards that let you attack multiple things at once, like Molotovs and stuff like that. But again, these are just kind of like my thoughts of just trying to remember what's in the decks versus these. We have Hunt the Hunters. Shuffle the second Inquisition card. Shuffle defeated second Inquisition cards into the city deck. The first time you defeat or burn a second Inquisition, during each of your turns, gain 1 prestige, and then 1 agenda. Yeah, so this is kind of neat. So basically, you're just going to keep getting to reuse them. So after you defeat them, you get to put them back in the deck, and you're hoping they're going to keep coming up. So if you have a way to deal with them, this is a great way to keep playing against them. Manipulate the masses. When a steam you play succeeds, gain 1 agenda. The Toreador had a lot of steams, so they would probably like this one as well. But again, you can mix steams in with anybody, but that's really good. But it's also, some of these are a little bit riskier, because it's like you're hoping for the second Inquisition, or you're hoping your steams succeed, versus some of the base ones that come in the deck are more like, when you play this card, or you do this, then it's going to happen more consistent and commonly. So these can be alternate ways, but they're a little bit trickier to work around. You have Strength in Numbers. At the start of your turn, if you control 3 characters in a street, gain 1 agenda. If you control 4 more characters with a +2 blood potency in the streets, gain 2 instead. It's just all about having characters. So the lower level your characters are, the more you can get out. You can keep them alive. Definitely this will work. Alright. Up next, we have some alternate vampires. For Venture, we have June Bryant. At the start of your turn, if you control the Prince of the City, draw 2 cards. And then we have Yusulk Kaya. Exhaust, mend 1 blood on each titled character you control, including Interpore. So yeah, as long as you guys have titles, this guy can mend everybody really quickly. For the Makalvian, we have Doc. Pay 1 prestige to mend 1 on each character in your party. It's kind of neat. We're getting a high-level character and a low-level character based on their blood points. We have Jesus, the Relentless, who can be played at any time. When this character is defeated, you may pay 1 prestige to gain 1 agenda. So that's not bad. Throw him in, have him block, let him die, gain a point. For the Brujah, we have Flick, who has Relentless. So let's pay 1 blood. This character has +3 influence during this action or event. That's very helpful. And then we have Shades. Party, for every 5 agenda a foe has, this party has +1 intel versus that foe. Oh, that's kind of cool. So yeah, once they have 5, you get +1, so you can attack their base. They have 2, they have to spend more. Once they have 10 of their 13, you can definitely attack their base. Bong Cha Park for the Toreador. At the end of your turn, you may attach a retainer on this. At the end of your turn, you may attach a retainer in this party to another character's party. It does not trigger the attach effect. Interesting, so you can move them around. It's kind of helpful. And Bunny Bietes. When a scheme you play succeeds, gain 1 influence. Exhaust. This character has +2 influence during this action or event. So this always definitely gives some other things. I think the alternate other thing they do is they'll let you switch out some of them characters who just had guard. Maybe you're not really that worried about ranged attacks too much. you want to swap them out for something different. Alright, then we're going to get into the clan-specific cards. We have 3 copies of Drive-By for the Brujah, which is a range attack we're just talking about. Deal 2 damage to an additional member of the opposing party for each character with celery in this party. Can't target the same character twice. So yeah, you get a lot of guys that have this, and they can also shoot a bunch of guys all at once. We have 3 copies of Blood for Blood. Ongoing, when a character in your coterie makes a physical attack, they have the ability to pay 1 blood to deal 1 extra damage. Nice. So you can do some extra damage there. For the Toreador, we have PR Firm. We have 3 copies of this. Unhosted Action. Ongoing, when a scheme you play succeeds, you may pay 1 prestige to gain 1. So great. Just every time you succeed, you can gain some more. And that could work well with that 1 extra agenda that gain you 1 extra every time you complete a scheme. Definitely nice. We have 3 copies of Fame and Fortune. Influence, Conflict, to Steam. Should I gain 2 influence and 1 agenda? Yeah, you try and talk people into letting you do that. It could be very tricky. For Makalvian, we have 3 copies of Distraction. Ongoing, discard this card. Redirect up to 2 second Inquisition damage you would take during your turn to a target foe. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Very specific on how it does it, but that could be very helpful to you. So again, especially that could work that Jenga where you're going to keep reshuffling the second Inquisition in all the time. Shuffle them in, redirect the damage to somebody else. Then they have 3 copies of Dumpster Dive. Put a card from your discard pile into your hand. If your coterie has the Auspec Discipline, +2, draw a card. Hey, free card retrieval is always good. And then get a potentially draw an extra card, so 2 cards possibly. Not bad at all. Then the... oh, why am I never remembering what the name of this is? These are the Ventures. Royal Review. Gain 1 prestige for each title in your coterie. That's what they want. And then 3 copies of Marked Man. Unhosted Action. Put 1 agenda from the general supply into any character. If a player defeats them, they gain that agenda. Nice. So that's kind of cool. So you can like forcibly get some extra ones by taking out guys if you plan this ahead of time. Then we have a new card type we haven't seen before. We have 3 copies of Hedge Your Bets, which is an influence modifier. So during various things where you're trying to gain influence to do stuff, you can go ahead and play this if you'd like. To gain 2 influence during this action or event, if there's a steam and it fails, you gain 1 additional agenda. So yeah, it's kind of neat. So you can use it to influence for a steam, or if you're doing influence for something else. So when you're building up your influence, this is a new type of card you can use. So if you're doing steams, or if you're worried about steam, you might want to include this in your deck, but it's not a forced thing. Then we have one of my favorite designed type of cards. We have 3 copies of the first tradition, the Masquerade. So there's a bunch of traditions that each set starts to add a new one. I think it goes up to 8. I might not be right on that. Maybe that's all I've seen so far. But it's just a kind of card type. It works with any other ongoing action, stuff like that. So there's a bunch of traditions, and the first one's the Masquerade, which is a vampire's kind of hiding in plain sight. So it says pay 2 prestige. Ongoing, your vampires outside your haven have 1 secrecy. If you defeat 2 mortals during a single turn, burn this card. So as long as you only take out 1 guy on a turn, you get to go ahead and keep your extra bonus. Otherwise, you have to get rid of it because you've kind of revealed yourself. Alright, then we're going to have a bunch of brand new cards. So we have 3 copies of the Mighty Fall. Mental attack and reaction. +2 damage if the target has +5 health. You'll make that guy walk right off that building. We have 3 copies of Humiliate, which is a social attack and reaction. This party has +2 of the presence, +1 damage. We have 3 more of these modifiers. Influence modifiers, we have the last word. Gain 5 influence during this action or event. If this is a steam and your side wins, gain 1 prestige. So it's kind of neat. So the 1 gains you 1, it only gave you, the 1 gets you 2 influence, but if the steam fails, you get an agenda. This one gives you 5, which is a lot better. But if it's a steam and your side wins, you get an extra prestige. It's kind of neat how that works. Different options for what maybe you're hoping happens. We have 3 copies of Emergency Blood Bag. Add 3 health from the general supply to this card. Ongoing. At the start of your turn, you may place a token from this card onto a wounded character in your coterie or Kapor. When the card is empty, burn this card. So just a health token thing. Not bad. 3 copies of Unswayable Mind. Physical and social reaction. Social and mental reaction. If this party has the Fortitude, +2 Fortitude, negate the game text effect of the attacker's cards, but not the inherent damage or keywords. So that's kind of cool. So you can basically, if it has a special effect, it says like, oh, if it does this, it does that. You can negate that. So if, like, we look at an attack here quick. I just had some attacks. So, so we played this attack. It would still do 2 damage, but it wouldn't do deal the 2 additional damage at all. It would get rid of all that. So it's actually, again, could be a very powerful one, but you have to have that specific discipline. Alright, then the last 2 cards we only have 1 copy of. This will be what you'll find more often will happen in the expansion sets. Some of the decks might have 1 copy or 2 copies of a card, and then the Crypt deck will have the remaining amount. So this card, the Saint and Sheriff, which is the other one, there was 2 copies in one of the deck. This gets you the extra 2 copies, so you have 3 of each. There are some cards in the Crypt that will just be brand new, but a lot of them will be the cards that did not appear as 3 copies in the regular pre-constructed decks. So this is an action title. It's unique. Exert 5 influence. Attached to the acting character. Action target loses 1 prestige. If no one controls Prince of the City, they lose 2 instead. And then final one was Sheriff. Action title. Exert 4 influence to attack. Exhaust character. Burn target. Ongoing card. This ability is only usable in the streets. Now this can be your opponent's ongoing cards. This can also be city ongoing cards. Maybe you don't like the one that says you can't use ranged attacks. Burn it. Now you can use ranged attacks. Or, whatever else. So the last thing I want to go over in here before I end this video is we also did get deck dividers. So we have one for agenda. You have one for the Brujah cards, and then your Brujah extra. So basically you can make your deck and have your extra cards sorted out there. Brujah only cards. Your San Francisco City deck. Haven cards, so if you want to have all your extra Havens together. And then Makalvian and extra miscellaneous cards for whatever else you want to put in there. Toreador and Venture. So yeah, you can sort out essentially all your Crypt cards and your decks into all these extra ones. And then all your additional, just miscellaneous, whatever is your extra Crypt cards that didn't fall one of the clans. It would be neat if they had some more breakdown on some of these for like various attacks, like physical attack, melee attack, ranged attack, stuff like that. But they do get some cards that later have multiples of them, or reactions would even just be its own thing. But it's neat that they did include all these, and they're going to work well with the Dex box, which will be another video we'll show off. Alright, so that's what we have for Vampires The Masquerade, the Rivals, the core set. So definitely check out the expansions as I release them. Hope to see you guys later. Bye.